Are you on a forklift?
Yeah, yeah.
You are a son of a bitch.
Un saluto a
Hey,
tutti.
Hey Juventini, welcome back to the All Juve Cast channel. It is another Victory Friday. We got the job done against Freiburg. We got Anthony, we got Omer. We're ready to tackle that. Of course, we know what the news entails today. It is the draw. So we got the draw that came out for Europa League. Juventus will face Sporting. There were some saying,
No idea who
don't
that
give
is.
me another Portuguese side, but hey, we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about the draw. We're going to talk about Champions League draw as well a little bit, but then we're going to obviously recap the game and go further into detail on all the storylines in the aftermath. Real quick, housekeeping. If you're tuning in on your audio outlets, head over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel. That's where you get all the extra content. All right. Now, also, I want to remind everybody, if you choose to support the channel, we have Super Chat enabled, and we also have the merch store. I'm rocking the Chiesa hoodie. Obviously, our boy Chiesa getting one of the goals yesterday. We're going to say, and we got Igobi on Anthony there. And Omar, not in a, striped tarts tank top, but it's a tank top nonetheless. We do have
We're
tank
working on
tops
it.
as well, though. Michael Razzo, ciao AJC and Juventini, Forza Juve, yes, absolutely. We're going to destroy Sporting. Nice. I like the confidence. Let's hope Sporting doesn't bounce Juve. Of course.
That's the
Not.
plan.
Of course not.
That's the plan that they
Jeremiah
don't.
already throwing in a Storm the Barn question. Let me flag that and say good morning to you, my friend. And then Apex, big win for us yesterday. Our road to the final got even easier. Considering Sporting bounced Arsenal, Forza Juve. Well, is it easier or isn't it? Obviously, we're going to tackle that and much, much more. But yes, it is indeed time to kick some Portuguese ass. But we're also going to focus on those snakes for the weekend too, all right? So everybody, obviously, guys, we'll get quick comments and thoughts on the draw. We're going to recap the game and everything. We'll talk a little bit Champions League draw, which also took place today. There's not a whole bunch in the news outside of that, everybody. We're getting reports that Adrian Rabiot could potentially be willing to work something out with the team. Again, we're going to talk about that more later, but let's get to the draws. For Juventus, it's Sporting. Omer, how do you feel about this draw?
not good. Not good, I gotta say. I've watched Sporting quite a lot, actually, especially both of their matches against Arsenal. They are good. They can play to our weak points. They're super fast. They're not so organized, but they do have good players. We struggle with speed, and they're very speedy. They play a very quick type of football, similar maybe to Benfica. But I just got like a hot wave when I looked at all of April and who we have to play. So if you wanna just brace yourselves, we have
Mm-hmm.
Verona, Inter, Lazio, Sporting, Sassuolo, Sporting again, Napoli, Inter again, and Bologna. That's our April.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough schedule. That's a huge test for the
Yeah.
team. We have Napoli right after the
Been
match
saying it
against
for a
Sporting.
couple weeks now. Buckle up for April.
Yeah,
Nothing changes. Europa
yeah, but
League.
still,
Did we think we were going to get an easy draw? I mean, is this the toughest draw? I wouldn't say it's the toughest draw. I would say, man, you would have probably been the toughest draw.
yeah,
I believe
well,
our winner plays the winner of the Man U Sevilla game.
yeah,
Is that how it is?
yeah.
So,
Yes.
whatever.
Now, yeah, I don't know. For me, it's the same. You get whoever you get in this Europa League, it's going to
Play
come down to what Juventus shows up, and we have to be way more clinical. That's my takeaway on this one. I don't care who you play. It gets tougher from this point on for sure. Do we expect easy draws? I mean, Champions League, would you have expected a draw like what we just saw the Italian teams get? If Juve was involved, absolutely not. You doing damn right we'd be on that other side. Champions League one blew me away. But hey, we'll see what happens
Great
there. Man
Champions League
City,
draw.
Bayern, Madrid, all on one side. And then, of course, you have the three Italian sides with Napoli and Milan meeting up. But yeah, for Juve, It depends on us. It all depends on us. Are we capable of beating Sporting? Absolutely, we are. We're capable of beating any other team that was remaining.
Yeah,
I think
The-
yeah, we
Sevilla
can,
is
of course.
probably the one I wouldn't have wanted to play right away. And the fact that they're playing Man U, I like that. Anth,
I actually wanted Sevilla.
you wanted Sevilla. Okay, we'll get to that. But
Yeah.
Anth, your thoughts on this draw?
Yeah, I said it in the green room. I said it in the group chat, and I'll say it right here. No idea who Sporting CP is, so whatever. We play who we have to play. Moving on.
Yeah,
I just found
exactly.
out now that
Now,
they beat Arsenal. Okay, great. Congratulations.
yeah,
You got
Omer.
you got to beat the next team up, man. That's all it is. Next team up.
Yeah, Omer. Why did you want Sevilla?
They're not having such a good season per se. I mean, I know their history in Europa League, and they've won it a couple of times. But out of the teams, they're the ones that I know they don't have a good season. I gotta say, I don't know that team from Belgium. Roma meeting Mourinho is always tricky, especially in European competitions. Um, Manchester United, Leverkusen. Again, all the teams are equally tricky and could be a tough draw or could be an easy one. It's just
Yeah,
the bad juju from Benfica and Porto and recent meetings
Hmm.
with Portuguese teams that give me this
Yeah.
vibe. But
You,
we
you got to
can
get
win.
over
I'm
that.
not saying we can't win. Every draw would
Mhm.
have probably been a tough one, possibly a tough one.
I think it's better for Juventus to stay clear of the ones we want to, where we would go in and be clear cut
Yeah,
favorites. I think
I
that's
also
important,
agree
and
with
I
that.
think we saw why
Mhm.
yesterday. And Max losing his shit over the second half. I think for this team, it's better for them to stay focused and stay sharp against tougher opposition. If we would have got somebody we took lightly, I think it creates problems. And yesterday, we kind of fell in that trap when things got very, very easy for a team to get comfortable. Obviously, we'll talk about that. So we'll get to this game. We are going to get more into the draw and everything and how everybody's feeling a little bit further on in this one, okay?
I'm
But
tired.
we'll kick things off.
All about the
Juve's
game.
lineup for this thing, as pretty much expected. Keenan
Mm-hmm.
Vlahovic partnered up top. You had Tech at the back. Gatti, Megastar, Bremer, Danilo, Quadrado, Fagioli, Locatelli, Rabiot, Kostic, and then, of course, Keenan Vlahovic. Now, we talked a bit about this and the lineup going into it, whatnot. I didn't really have any issues. I probably was saying that I would have probably played Rugani, but we're going to talk about this a little bit right now because the news is that on the weekend, Max, again, because Bonucci and Sandro are not going to be back, he's got to make a decision for this one. After this, we get the international break, and then Sandro should be back and whatnot, and we'll see what Max does. But Gatti or Rugani coming in for the weekend against Inter. The news is potentially Gatti, but I was thinking maybe, just maybe, Max wanted to go with Rugani for Inter, not to disrespect Freiburg or whatnot, but thinking he wouldn't have to use him. Now, in my mind, I've been feeling this season that Max prefers Rugani over Gatti. People are clinging to the minutes. Gatti has about 200 more minutes than Rugani, but that's only 2 games in November. And I believe
Gatti has 200 minutes.
200 more minutes than Rugani.
Can't even
Okay.
believe that.
So he's
Okay.
got 543, Rugani somewhere around 3
What?
something. Now, that caught me off guard because but that's only 2 games. 200 minutes is 2 games. And I believe that's only in November because Rugani didn't feature at all in November. And I think there was also issues with Rugani around that time, but I can't remember 100%. But we're only talking about 2 games. But I thought it was interesting that I got that feeling and then looked at the minutes, because did you guys have the same feeling that he was kind of leaning more towards Rugani over Gatti up until this point? I found that surprising to check the minutes.
Yeah, it was surprising it chose Gatti yesterday. I didn't expect it. I thought he fell down the pecking order because he had some really bad performances. But he did play at the beginning of the season. I remember him against Monza, the first loss, and a couple of more games here and there. So maybe, I don't know, he had a good performance. So maybe he's shifting things. Maybe Rugani isn't 100%. Maybe he wants him for Sunday. Tons of reasons. God knows what goes on through Max's head right now. But credit to Gatti. I mean, we'll get to it, so I won't jump in.
Yeah.
For me, it's just Max leaning on the guys that he trusts, and Rogani's been around a lot longer. In a away game in Europe, you just figured he'd put Rugani in there, right?
Yeah,
But hey,
and you gotta have everyone in form in case you need them.
mm-hmm,
So whenever you get a chance to play someone, play him. You can't throw in like a Barbieri suddenly into an important match
mm-hmm.
because he hasn't played any minutes. So maybe that's the rotation thing.
And who would have thought Max got it right again? God damn it!
He hasn't put a foot wrong for quite a while right now. He's on a bit of a streak there as far as getting it right. But Freiburg, I mean,
right.
Freiburg was the second half was frustrating, and I could feel that from Max. Obviously, everybody could see it from Max. We'll talk about, but yeah, I don't know. I just I found it a little bit surprising, but again, we're only talking about 2 more games that Gatti's got over Rugani, but. Based on all the reports, everything we were hearing, Gatti was supposed to be way more involved in the second half, and that also hasn't really amounted much. So nobody really knows what's going on back there, and Gatti's been getting, the bigger guys, Mirko and Romeo, both have been saying, like, hey, he's been the one that's got to pick it up most and whatnot, it's always interesting because we tend to cling to what these guys see because they're watching the training sessions nonstop, especially Romeo and whatnot. But Gatti had himself a game yesterday. Gonna get to the highlights. Okay, let's fire through this. We're gonna get back into Inter lineups. We have some questions that came from Twitter and everything that we'll tackle in regards of getting into the Derby d'Italia. So. Let's kick things off on the highlights. 4.5 minutes in, Doan tried to catch Tech off guard, got his hit all wrong there. Quick little turnaround from Freiburg. Again, that's probably one of their best opportunities if we're being serious. 14th minute, Fagioli drops in the area. I thought a little bit too early. Cross gets back in there, cleared to Locatelli, who smashes at this thing, but right at Flecken. Okay, so easy for him to.
Sorry,
maintain.
Al. Just one thing there. Going back to the missed chance in the 6th minute. People on the timeline were absolutely dumping on Gatti after that chance, and it's like, can you give the guy 5 minutes? Just let him get settled.
It's a nothing.
Why is this guy playing?
Take a hell of a chip from there, and yeah, the guy, it wasn't even close, but still, it's not the be all end all. The guy, he was closed down quickly. He had no option but to shoot right there in that moment because he was getting closed down by Gatti, who had to come from behind, but also Bremer, who was doing a great job again yesterday of cleaning up everything. So the guy had a split decision to make and took a slash at it. It's not a big deal. Now, again, Locatelli's volley smash right at Flecken. Stop there. 21st minute. This is a good opportunity from a little bit of pressure from Freiburg. They get the corner kick. This is a big stop from Tech. Good reaction save. Getting down low. That header looked very dangerous. Good stop from Tech. And then Bremer on the rebound, following through
Huge.
and blocking was absolutely big. He had about 3 very, very big blocks in that game yesterday. We move on, 25th minute. Rabiot was doing this nonstop in this game yesterday, and that's just pulling away from these guys in the middle of the pitch. He was doing such a good job to lead little charges and rushes. In the 25th minute, he forces the first yellow to Goulde on his run and beating him and forcing him into that yellow, which was great. The ensuing free kick. I've talked about this a lot, especially over the past couple weeks, but Bremer is an absolute unit on set pieces. He gets to this one again. Unfortunate to not have this one go in, as again, Flecken gets a piece of it. It goes off the crossbar, comes out. Duchan buries it, and we're pumped on that, only to see it get called back for offside. And Luca, learn the damn rules, okay? Because even
I did have Bremer
figure
plus
this one
1600.
out. So clear and easy description. We get it official from the IFAB rules, anyways, from our friend L'Arbitro Nick, and he just says some were confused, Luca, by this offside. There was a defender still back when the keeper moves forward, he's considered a defender, and by IFAB law, a player is in an offside position when they are past the second to last defender. It's the second to last defender. So if the goalkeeper goes forward enough to pass one of his players, he then becomes the offside line. All right. So it's very, very simple. So based
So he
on
was a
that, the
mile
call was
offside.
correct. There's no room for interpretation, as Vlahovic was clearly beyond the keeper. All right, Luca, write that down. Now we move forward. 40th minute. Keane is sent through by a very nice ball from Adrian Rabiot. This one, a little too close to Flecken, makes the old Hextall kick save, and out it goes for the rebound.
And a beauty.
And a beauty. And Quadrado in the 41st minute to Fagioli. This is a beautiful touch from Fagioli. Okay, so Quadrado coming in. He's got his defender backing up. Finds Fagioli. Beautiful touch from Fagioli in Gatti's path. He has a rip here, and it's bouncing all over the place. You see a goal line clearance, and you're thinking, how do we come out of here without a goal? You do see that obviously Juve is lobbying hard for handball here and wants a call. It gets checked. We get the PK. Was Dusan going to miss this one? No flecking way, all right? So he buries this thing. 1-0 for Juve. Now, we got to say on this one that L'Arbitro Nick came in and he said VAR saved the referee in this one. Okay, so he said he saved the referee because this was a clear handball on it, and his arm was in an unnatural position. Based on the ref's position, he was in the perfect position and point of view to see it on field and didn't. So this was great work by VAR because, and as far as the yellow and everything, second yellow, red card, because of the shot and what it was potentially stopping the goal is clearly stopping a promising attack, resulting in automatic yellow. That's his second. See you later. All right. So there you go.
He could have had 4 yellow cards in that game.
Oh yeah.
That guy.
Oh yeah.
Like,
He was a little out of control there. But Dusan,
take it easy, Goulday.
Man,
Whatever the hell
puts
his name
it
is.
down the center. We hear today in his interview with JTV that Max said, you know what, the next one just goes straight down the pipe.
Right down the
Put
pipe,
it
baby.
still a little too close to the right. Got to keep it away from those toes, you know. If you're gonna go down the pipe, I like to at least put it up a bit and straight down.
I think it
pipe.
hit Flecken's left foot, like his leg
the lower
underneath.
one, and then still pop forward. Yeah,
Hey,
whatever.
they all count. On the score sheet, they're all top.
What did
top
Del
coverage.
Piero
It doesn't
say?
really
Goes, yeah, it wasn't the most convincing, but all in all, you did make the right decision as long as it goes in the net. So he goes, as long as you score, you're right. So there you go. That's basically it. We do actually get very close to Dusan setting up Rabiot like a minute later, but that cross just gets intercepted at the last second. Rabiot making a great run into the area, and Dusan was out wide, getting involved again, trying to get more and more involved into these games. He does. Rabiot just can't get to the end of it. We go into halftime. Not a bad half. Probably would have wanted to seal things up for sure, but and maybe could get a little frustrating how much we're actually generating, but I wasn't. It felt very professional from Juve and just, limiting Freiburg, getting the goal, getting decent opportunities here and there. I was okay. What did you guys feel at half?
Want me to start, Omer?
Yeah, either one of you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so the one thing for me, I had some quick summaries. On the first half, it was, would we have buried Dusan for missing the breakaway that Keane had? The answer is hell yes, we would have. So Keane got to do better on that. Okay, he made good kick save and a beauty, like you said, but I think we would have buried Dusan for missing that. Other than that, that's all I had. There's nothing really to report. You put it perfectly. Professional start. Just you got the goal, 1-0 at halftime. Really, and up a man, it was over.
Yeah.
Didn't matter what the other team did.
Yeah. Omer?
I think we had a great half. I really enjoyed the first half. I had no idea what the second half would be like, but the first half was great. Tons of chances. We could have easily been 2-3-0 up at the break. Also great from the defensive aspect. Gatti was getting forward a lot, creating that penalty, and he's very physical. He's very fast compared to his height. And the guy is a beast. Bremer just everywhere. Bremer
Wasn't he a
was
midfielder or
everywhere.
something? Didn't Gotti, wasn't he like a midfielder or something in his
I
younger
don't know.
days? He was something like that. Anyways.
Might have been. Buffon was a midfielder too. So not too much to add. I mean, great
Yeah.
half, great for Dushan. I was just, I was praying he wouldn't miss that too. That would have been massive hit to his
Yeah.
ego, and he needed that. You could see on the first goal that called off how much he needed that. But I
Hmm.
get the feeling that Juve are consistent in their performances, in their approach to games. Our recent run, even when we lost to Roma, it looked the same, and I feel more confident in the team going into matches than I did in the past year and a half. Because
Yeah.
finally, it feels like there's a structure and everyone knows what they're supposed to do, and we have good players who can do something, and the guys are not just on and off. At the beginning, I felt like we had two trampolines at the attack with Keane and Vlahovic that just couldn't control any ball. But besides that, the rest did phenomenal job in the first
Yeah.
half.
When you can run a consistent lineup, that's what happens. And a
Now.
consistent formation. It's just bound to happen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Now, let's get into the second half here. So
No, we don't have to.
Freiburg gets a little bit going out of the gate there. In the 48th minute, they actually get a free kick. Gregorich did a good job on this free kick. He hit that very well, snaked it. You could see it kind of fool Tech for a second there, just going wide. That
It
was
was way wide.
probably the closest outside of that header that they came. 56th minute,
Hmm.
though. Tech makes a good stop in a scramble up front, but it would have been called back anyways. But still was a big stop.
I don't
70th
even know
minute,
why that. Why was that play called dead? I don't even know.
There
they
was an
were
Was there a
offside.
saying that
foul?
there was a foul on the play, but then where they actually let us restart wasn't coinciding with that,
Yeah.
and there was a little mix-up. It was confusion there.
Okay.
A
Anyways.
few scrambles like that where they weren't clear to assess
Hmm.
and like show us what was going on. 70th minute, Chiesa and Illing Jr. come in, and to be honest, from the 48th to the 70th, it's very sloppy from Juve. And that's when I
Awful.
say, this is why I say it's better for Juve to face a tougher test moving forward and get one of the bigger draws in Europa League, is because this was a prime example. You're playing against a team that is inferior to you for
They
quality.
stink.
You're
Hmm.
up 2-0 on aggregates,
Hmm.
and you're one man up in this game. This was
Hmm.
the perfect recipe for us to just shut down. And we did. We stopped moving our legs. All the good stuff we were
Hmm.
doing essentially just kind of dissipated
Right at the
and
window.
faded. And that's what we saw in the second half. Outside of some decent moves here and there that were sparked by one guy making a good move, whether it was Rabiot beating his guys, which he actually was doing a lot, like I said, leading those charges. But outside of that, it was a very sloppy half. The legs stopped moving, and you could see we were passing the ball around, and then guys would make bad decisions because nobody was moving to be an option. And that was just forcing us to cough the ball up. All in all, we gave up one big chance in the second half, 7 opportunities and whatnot. We still had 5 opportunities in the second half. Like I said, Chiesa and Illing Jr. come in. 83rd minute, bad touch from Freiburg at the top of their area. Keane turns around, slashes at this one. Didn't actually miss by much there, but doesn't go in. 84th minute, and the nail in the coffin for Paredes is he can't even get 6 minutes now in a game that's practically decided as Barnechea comes in. So great stuff there. Well done, Max. Now, 90th plus 3. Chiesa cuts inside, and again, Flecken gets a piece of this thing, and it goes off the bar, but immediately followed up by us keeping pressure on Freiburg, keeping them deep. Throw in, we win it. Falls to Rabiot, finds Chiesa, and Chiesa with the nice one-touch, quick hit, curl short side. There you go, 2-0. Get us the hell out of here, and let's see what happens
Fire
in
up
the
the
draw.
Jets.
But there you go, Max, livid about the second half. Guys,
Should be.
break down your second half. So, Ant, kick us off there.
Yeah, everyone was getting on Max for like what he was doing in the second half, that was for me 99% on the players. They could not complete a pass. They weren't running. They were running the spaces. When they were running the spaces, they were running in the opposite direction of where the ball was going to go. It was all over the place. So that was for me, in my opinion, all on the players. And of course, he's going to be mad about it. And then you bring in a guy like Chiesa who brings a bit of pace, and he's a game changer. I just, again, you're going to shut off when you know the game's in hand. That Freiburg stinks. Like, what are we even talking about? Like, the team just shut down because they know their opponent couldn't threaten them. And they didn't. Freiburg did not threaten at all. Not once. Well, there's that little scramble. But other than that, the players knew the game was over. But I don't know. Did I have a problem with it? A little bit. But what are you going to do? Freiburg
Yeah, and
stinks.
I'll get to my thoughts. I want to hear
I don't
Omer
know.
here on the whole game overview. That second half that Max was losing it about.
That I actually don't get it. I don't get why. I mean, I was fine with it. It was just a boring half. One team who's down to 10 men have to get a goal, and we have Inter in mind. The guys did look tired. They did play a
Mhm.
lot. I mean, I had no issues. That's what I kind of expected. They knew the game was over. Fine, they got another goal. Great. But we do need Kostic, and we need Rabiot, and we need Lucatelli, and we need all those guys to play. Would even sub them out earlier, and give the other guys a couple more minutes to play. But I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I had no problem. I didn't expect that from Max. That presser. I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just laying back. One credit to Gatti. There was one moment where they crossed the ball. It was a great cross, and Gatti barely got his head into it. I think any other defender who's an inch shorter wouldn't have gotten to it, and that was a goal. I don't remember the exact minute, but Gatti saved the goal there, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So great play again, great defensive showing. We move, and I nailed my predictions, so I'm happy.
Now,
My
there's
Go ahead,
after
Ant.
you get to yours, can we just highlight Bikram's thing here? His comment, I can't highlight it. When a team is up 2-0 and playing against 10 men, the team should go and get as many goals. No, the game's over, right? You could.
No,
There's two sides to that argument. Like what Omer's saying is like Omer's right. The game's in hand. You just shut it down. Like so, you're kind of playing with fire a little bit. You're like, okay, You want to go all out. You can risk injury, risk guys getting tired, and players. You're right, Omer. Players may have been looking ahead to enter. So, sort of, I'm mixed feelings on what Bikram wrote there.
So here's the thing: is that is not necessarily wrong, especially with that much time. At the start of a second half, 2 goals when there's nothing to do with away goals, it's not much. Like if they tie it early on in that second half, you're in a nightmare scenario. Like that's brutal. So yes and no. I mean, you can't shut down to that point. Again, the problem I have with Max losing it so much is just the fact that what did you honestly expect? This team has notoriously dropped off this entire season practically. So the fact that they did it with 2 up on aggregate, with an extra man on the pitch, feeling comfortable because Freiburg was relatively toothless, again, that recipe is there, and we've been doing that when the situation isn't laid out like that. So I just wasn't surprised by it. All in all, did I have a big problem with it? Not really, because honestly, I still saw it as a professional job done away from home. They sealed it. It was late, but again, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. So, um,
yeah, I
go
want to
ahead.
add that uh, it's the first time I feel Max kind of threw the player under the bus, and put it all on them and didn't take responsibility, which is not something he often does, maybe never. It felt weird because he's all about just winning 1-0, 2-1. I don't care, just win it. And they did win it. They did go 3-0 overall. And now you're choosing to complain and say that the players weren't good enough and didn't execute what you wanted them. It's a weird time to start acting this way. I found it funny but weird for Max. I don't know what's behind it, but whatever you think.
Now, One of the
Good
thoughts that was coming in from Twitter is that simply he's always done this and he's always like this. So he doesn't want them to get too high and he's always going to bring them down. And when they're too low, he brings them back up. He's always trying to maintain them like that. And you could attest to that based on his actions and what he's done, right? So that might be part of it too. But the reactions on the sideline, he was feeling it, but it was sloppy. It was a sloppy second half. Forza Juve, they thought of Gatti saving us from a Sandro renewal. It's the option's going to hit, so I don't think he's saving us from anything. I want to let Mark know that we have flagged your question, okay, in terms of the Europa League and the next draw with Sporting. Okay, we're going to talk about that in a bit. We are going to get to Striped Hearts Apparel Man of the Match, everybody, okay? So we're going to head over to that. We're going to start talking Man of the Match. We got stats. We're going to talk about that, break it down. I want to remind everybody, like the video while you're here, okay? Let's get those likes up and subscribe if you haven't yet. We're going to kick things off with the crazy horse, Adrian Rabiot. So, match by the numbers. You have 84% accurate passes, 36 for 43. Obviously getting an assist, 58 touches, 5 passes into the final third, 5 chances created, 1 for 1 on successful dribbles, accurate long balls, 3 for 4, recoveries 9, ground duels 3 for 5, clearances 2. So there is Rabiot, all right? So we've got some shouts. One shout for Rabiot in there. We've got Gatti.
Of course, Jeremiah.
What's that?
Jeremiah's calling for Rabiot man of the match, obviously.
Yeah,
Well,
and
are
we've
we
got
choosing
Alex
now,
P
or
in
we-
there, and we've got Vincenzo
Not yet, Omer.
for Rabiot. I will just say it right now. Rabiot was my man of the match. He was.
Okay. Never mind.
I'm just gonna say it. He's my man of the match. He was solid
Not yet,
throughout
Omer.
the
Wait, no,
entire game, start to finish. So
Mine too.
he was
Mine
yours
too.
as well.
Yeah.
Was he
yeah,
yours as well,
probably.
Ant? No. Okay. So Ant say no, but Omar, he was yours.
Yeah, it was mine.
Yeah. So
I,
there you
I'm
go.
doing the stats. I'm doing the stats you're posting. So reviewing all of them. I mean, Rabiot and watching the match. Yeah, he was the best guy out there on the pitch.
Yeah, I'd have to say that. Now, we are still, obviously, of course, let's get to everybody. Vlahovic, big man, stats, 82% on accurate passes, 9 for 11, 25 touches, 1 for 1 on accurate crosses, shots, 1 for 1, obviously. Successful dribbles, 2 for 2, accurate long balls, 1, 2, recoveries, 1, ground duels, 1, 2 for 5. Decent game, finally getting on the board and everything. Do you guys have anything to add on Vlahovic's performance? Is he continuing
kinda
the trend of
shocked.
getting more and more involved? Did you feel that?
No, not with 25 touches and 11 passes. No, I didn't feel it was more involved. But he worked harder, if that's what you're alluding to.
I saw him drift out of just heading to that top central spot and out. I saw him
Exactly.
more involved, more active, and getting into areas that weren't that standard when he's been struggling brutally. And that's what I mean by doing a bit more than what we've been seeing. So,
Yeah, maybe
100%
maybe
agree.
yeah, maybe it was more because Keane was kind of nowhere to be found and always where he wasn't supposed to be. So Vlahovic had to drift.
Exactly.
But I do like that type of play. I want him to move to the side and draw defenders out and confuse the defense. So that's good. That's a positive.
yeah, absolutely.
I just
Now
wanted
we'll
to
get
touch
to
more of the ball.
Fagioli. So Fagioli, accurate passes 71%, 70 for 24, touches 33, still pretty low, but he was very strong every time he was really on it. You've got passes into the final third, 1 successful dribbles, 2 for 2, accurate long balls, 1 for 2, 1 chance created, 5 recoveries, 4 for 8 on ground duels, 1 accurate crosses, 1 for 1. Keep it going. Anything to add on Fagioli's game from either one of you?
Fagioli was an
Not-
honorable mention for my man of the match, not my
There
man
you
of the
go.
match. But he was close.
All right.
Not his best game, but solid. Solid. Did his job. Did what he had to do.
Exactly.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, of course, Gatti. So Gatti, 91%, 49 out of 54 on accurate pass, 73 touches. Passes in the final third, 4. Tackles 1, 2 for 2. Blocks 1. Clearances 7. Recoveries 5. Ground duels 4 for 5. Aerial duels 3 for 5. 1 a penalty. Mr. Katz. Gatti getting the job done.
You
Is
should have got the
he
picture
your
of him
man
in
of
his
the
Juventus
match?
underwear.
Is Gatti your man of the match?
Another close one. He is on my honorable mention list.
So
I know,
we've
I know
got
who you're
everyone.
talking.
Look, let's say this for Gatti, and we're going to talk about
Great
the
game.
potential of Inter and whatnot. Obviously, in the recap a little bit further on here, but an incredible showing for Gatti. By far his best in a Juve shirt. I think we can all agree, and I can easily see the shouts for Gatti for man of the match in this one. A great performance. Now, we saw that Omer and myself have chosen Rabiot. Anthony, who's your man of the match?
I had him at plus 1,600 to score a goal, and he hit the damn crossbar. Bremer was my man of the match simply because of that. He got that play going. I know it was called back an offside, but when we needed a stop, he was there twice. So just for those two blocks alone, I'm going with Bremer.
There you go.
No, Tech didn't have to. Tech didn't have to do
Good though.
much.
That's good though. I love the banter.
Yeah,
Love the banter.
But
So
Bremer, for me.
Bremer's a good shout too.
All good shouts. All good shouts. Everybody else. So.
Yeah. Danilo, I thought, did well too yesterday again. Locatelli did good. Very good.
Yeah. Put in a
He
shift.
was really
In
on his
general.
distribution game. I can only think of 2 passes where he kind of bumbled, but outside of that, he was very strong again.
Yeah. And I want to make sort of a question, see if you see it the same way I do. But our midfield is working. I mean, every match we recap here and we do it a lot. There's always someone in the midfield. If he's not man of the match, then he's an honorable mention or a close second. And I feel like we found our formula. Even if the strikers are not banging in goals, this is how important a good midfield is, and that's the backbone of our recent success and our relatively good season. Which brings me back to the early Conte days. I mean, yeah, Matri, Quagliarella each got like 9, 10 goals a season, but the midfield was killing it, providing goals and working harder than everyone. So do you see it the same way? Do you think we found our midfield formula for this season?
Absolutely.
Took a while.
Yeah.
We
That's
might
what
have
happens when you
stumbled
get
upon it
consistency.
back when Max wasn't getting Fagioli into the mix, but make no mistake about it, those 3 have been our best combination in there. Fagioli, Locatelli, Rabiot has been extraordinary for us.
I'm just so happy not complaining about the midfield after 3 years of non-stop complaining.
Yeah. This team has one thing left to do, and that's figure out how to be more clinical up top. That is their last hurdle to really, in my mind, having that confidence to do some damage no matter who we come up against. They have got to be sharper and way more clinical up top. That's the last hurdle.
Yeah, I agree. Another thing,
Go ahead.
Chiesa running straight to the fans, sort of
Yes.
apologizing and saying thanks. What did you think?
Well, I mean, he doesn't owe anybody an apology. That's number one. I mean, when guys get injured, it happens and whatnot. It's nice to see that, though, that he cares so much and he just wants to contribute. So he's saying, that he apologized that he can't. I mean, it really puts Paul in a heck of a predicament because he's going to be having to follow suit and apologize if Chiesa's apologizing. Yeah, Paul's got a lot of apologizing to do, but they don't owe that
Paul's
to
going to have to
anybody.
throw money into the stands to apologize to the same
Injuries
level.
happen. It is what it is, but it's a nice gesture because you could see how much it means to him and whatnot. And that's not to say it doesn't mean anything to Paul in any way, shape, or form, but it's a nice gesture, and that's all I take out of it. I don't want to make too big a thing out of it. He's an emotional kid, and he's just saying that he wishes he could do more for as far as contributions go. That's great. That's what we want. That's what we need. And I said this.
I loved it.
When Paul walked out of the J Medical, I felt, the shame he was feeling and the embarrassment he was feeling. And if I would have had more problem if he just walked up to those fans normally than what he did, which was get in the car and show his discontent and just leave the situation. So is
Well,
what
we
it is.
posted on
But
the news yesterday. I don't know, Omer, if you posted. Calvo made a comment about Pogba and how, yeah, he's disappointed and he's trying to get back. He's not like he's not taking this
Yeah.
lightly. Like he's taking it personal. He's
yeah,
doing what he can to get back. So, like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
he's
no,
trying.
no, the Chilio goal. So I'm sorry,
no.
Dominic, you won't get your shirt today, but I
Massive
tried.
thank you to Rick out there. Say what's up to everybody at the official fan club at JCD Melbourne, GG Buffon. All right, so big salute to all the boys there. He's saying salute boys, was at the Sporting Stadium last September for Italy Portugal trip. They have Bazzo supporters. It's going to be difficult. So,
Nah, we'll be
it's
fine.
going to say that it's going to be a hostile environment over there. We would wish for ours to be the same. There's a lot of work to be in that department. But all in all, I'm set, and we'll get into it. I guess we can just get into it now. We kind of talked about Max, that feeling in the second half. We tackled man of the match and whatnot. We can get into this draw now. One of the questions that came up, and you guys feel free in the chat to fire away your Storm the Barn questions at any moment. We're just flagging them and everything. So again, we talked a little bit about it. It's a big news. So Mark's saying if we can overcome Sporting, our next hurdle would be obviously Man United. They haven't made it by Sevilla. I'll just say that. And I know Sevilla's having a soft season. They're like 13th or 14th in Spanish League, I believe. Don't quote me on that. But it's they still have to play the games. I mean, Arsenal just got taken out by Sporting, which nobody thought was going to actually happen. It did. But I definitely feel Juve can make this run. So now all of a sudden we're talking about, what I said earlier about this team needs to sort it out and get more clinical up in the final third. But are we feeling stronger about this run in Europa League, or are we the same? Is it cautious optimism? What is it you guys feel about us making a deep run in Europa League and continuing on?
So when I said earlier in the year, and I'll say it then, I said a month ago, and I'll say it again today. We are not a Champions League team, but a good deep run in Europa League will be good for the kids and good for the guys like Locatelli who haven't had deep Europe runs. Some of our older guys have had it, but this is great for the team. Are we going to get by Sporting? Who cares? I think we've accomplished enough for these young guys to learn and grow from. And I think anything from here forward is a bonus. I don't really have any expectations because I'm old and bitter, but whatever. One game at a time, man. I'm Sporting. I don't even know. I had to look them up. Fourth in their league. Okay, like you said, Al. You're gonna face good teams, not great teams, but you're gonna face good teams. Just go out there and get the job done. Whatever.
Yeah. Omer, are you feeling more confident than you were when we were first talking about Europa League and tackling this thing?
Yeah, it's also very reliant on the draw we got. I mean, we could have gotten Arsenal in this round, and it would have looked different, Arsenal or United. But
It would have
I
been fine.
never got the way sometimes fans look at certain tournaments, say, yeah, that doesn't matter. I don't care what happens. I want Juve to go all in on every trophy they can win every season, and won't make just something, make it feel unimportant. I want Juve to go all out, and I want them to win Europa League. And like Ant said, maybe it's more suited to our level and our project and all the young guys we have. And I would rather win Europa League and play in Europa League now than being in the Champions League, because we're just not at that level.
Yeah.
That's it. The only upside of Champions League is the money. Besides that, I mean, that's not our level now, to
Yeah.
be 100% honest.
Let's
So
do what we can in this tournament.
I
Do what we
think
can.
Ant's comments are easily going to be misinterpreted by saying, like, the gain is already there in terms of experience for certain players and whatnot. So, but I wouldn't go to the point of saying who cares moving forward or whatnot. Obviously, we know how important Copa and Europa are right now for this Juventus side. The news also coming out that we might not actually have this investigation, everything all finalized. Like, this could go into the summer quite easily. It could potentially affect next season and whatnot. So a
Mm-hmm.
lot of uncertainty there. This is big. This is big. But in terms of myself, my belief in this team, it's definitely, I think if I would say it's the same as when it was when the Europa League first started for us, I would say that's not fair to the team and what they're doing, because roles are now clearly defined
Mm-hmm.
for starting and for rotational. So defining that was a big step for this Juventus. I think we
Mm-hmm.
can see we're locked in on this 3-5-2. I think that makes sense too, because obviously Chiesa is not at the level we want him to be in terms of his continuity and the fitness. It's not a bad thing that we can't get all these guys out there to kick games off. That's not a bad thing. Like Chiesa coming in on 60, 70, like that's great. And if it's vice versa, if it's Di Maria coming in at 67, that's great for Juventus. Okay. I don't think that's a detriment, so to speak. But again, the one thing for me to feel really confident is we have to get firing up top.
Mm-hmm.
Because, the stats might tell a bit of a different story, but I'm still not completely sold that when we really get pushed, we're not going to leak some here and there. And I want to feel much more confident about what we're doing in the final third, because I do have a strong sense of confidence at the back and in the middle, but up top, we got to figure it out, and the goals have to start coming. That's all.
Yeah,
That's
maybe.
why that's
Go
why
ahead, Omer.
Chiesa's goal was important. We need everyone to start firing. I mean, yeah, it was 90 something minute, but and it's the first time I think both Vlahovic and Chiesa score in the same match.
Could
We
be.
Yeah,
so sorry, Lucci and I were on a Inter podcast last night. Interviews. We'll post that from the main. Great guys, Johnny and Alessandro. They very very welcoming. So it was a good show, and we talked about that. That actually came up. When was the last time Chiesa and Vlahovic scored in the same game? And it's when they must have been when they played at Fiorentina, because they haven't done it for us,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Well,
Because
Chiesa was injured since
he was
Dusan came
injured, right?
in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but let me just sort of rephrase, not to say who cares, because I think it's, but I'm just trying to get across. Again, I'm exhausted, but this team is achieving more in Europe than I thought they would. So everything here for me is a bonus. Like, hey, go beat Sporting, great, still support. Let's go beat the next team. And all of this is a bonus for experience for these young guys. I think it's great. I think they'll be able to use this to carry it forward.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, again, the confidence level, again, it's going to be mixed. I see some Juventus that are still, now they're worried, Portuguese side, everything like that. We'll see. There's Storm the Barn questions. Keep them coming. We got some
You start worrying about
questions
the
from
Portuguese.
Rami on Twitter. Rami's a great friend of the show. Been a supporter since day one back in 2018. Okay, so massive shout out to Rami here. From here on out, now that Duchan has got that monkey off his back, and hopefully that PK does a lot more there. Here on out, how many goals do you think we'll see from Duchan? Obviously, we know we're going to have another 4 matches guaranteed with Copa and Europa, 2 ties on both of those, plus the remaining league. He broke it down into 3 sectors. Do we think it's going to be 0 to 5? Do we think it's going to be 5 to 10? Do we think it's going to be 10 to 15? I'm going 5 to 10 on the remaining games left in the season.
So we have 9 in April, 1 in March. How many in May? Probably another half dozen. 15 games. Yeah, 5 to 10.
I'm going to go 5 to 10. I think that's kind
yeah.
of where
I
he'll
thought
probably
like
fall based on his rate, even his highest rate with Juventus so far. But Omer?
yeah, I was thinking 7, 8, something like that till the end of the season. Hopefully, it's more. Important to note that Milik is probably getting called up to Inter, as latest reports from the past half an
Okay.
hour. So that's another striker in the rotation. And so Keane, Vlahovic, we still have Di Maria on the bench, and we play with 2 guys. Sule, there's going to be a lot of rotation. That's why I'm not leaning towards 10 for Vlahovic.
Okay. But Keane's out this weekend, right? You're just saying in general.
Yeah,
Moving forward. Okay.
Yeah,
yeah.
moving
Yeah.
forward. Now, he also went, who do we want in Europa? We kind of talked about that. We know we got Sporting. But he says,
Doesn't matter.
against Inter. Against Inter, what would you do in terms of our lineup? So, Omar, why don't you kick us off with Inter and what you would do on the lineup?
Perrine.
So let's
Put Tuck on the bench.
Anthony, go drink your milkshake, your vitamins, whatever you need to calm down. Smoke a blunt. Okay, so let's say Tech, Perrine, I don't really care. Bremer, obviously. Danilo, obviously. Only question is Gatti, Rugani, Bonucci, and Sandro are still out. So
Okay,
I would
I got a question on that
probably,
before you keep. I got a question on that before you keep going. If you put
yeah.
Rugani in, can he? Because Gatti was playing on the right side, from what I saw. Would Rugani take that spot, or would you put, would they put him in the middle and then Danilo on the outside? Like,
I,
where would
I
Rugani
don't
slot in
know.
back three?
Rugani has
It's a
played
guess,
to the
but
side. Rugani has played to
yeah,
the side, too.
He has to play to the side. Okay.
He doesn't
yeah, he
have
played.
to, but I would because Bremer should always be our cleanup guy. Like, right in the heart of there. Like, just flat out. Flat
Okay.
out.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's an interesting question because Gatti is more like a physical power with his speed and his height, and Rugani is a bit more smart and experienced. Like he covers ground, but he isn't as athletic as Gatti. So I don't know, maybe him on the left, but Bremer should hold the center and not move from there because he's just doing a phenomenal
Okay.
job. I believe Cuadrado, Kostic is pretty obvious. The midfield, I've talked about it earlier. Fagioli, Locatelli, and Rabiot. That's our midfield. Dusan, Di Maria.
Yeah. I don't make any changes other than potentially Rugani instead of Gatti, but I'd be fine even if Gatti ended up playing in this one, to be honest. I'm fine either way. The only change I make is Di Maria starts.
The only issue that I would see is who's better at handling Lautaro Martinez, Gatti or Rugani. Because Bremer's going to have to, if Lukaku starts, Bremer's going to have to handle him. So who of the other two can handle their other striker? So
Gaku's going to be
Yeah, but I think it's more of
hurting
a.
his team more than he is helping them anyways.
Yeah.
that's what the
Bremer's
Inter
job
guys
will
said
be
last
easy.
night.
It's more of a midfield work, I believe, because Lautaro is not like a guy who plays in the box. He runs all around and he shifts position. That's his game.
All right.
I believe it will be Locatelli who will be charged with following him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'd be interesting. And obviously, in terms of setup, we know that what Inter's kind of MO is. And if Max tries to shut that down, utilizing one of the forwards, but then that takes away from Di Maria's complete freedom that he gets in order to help spark things for us offensively. So it's going to be really interesting. Bikramjeet says that he has a feeling Max is going to do something unexpected. And you know what? Very, very much could be the case, but we don't know. Like, you just don't know. Max has come up with some interesting moves during certain games. Would he do something against Inter? You can argue both points. You could say, well, why take any chances right now is a big one. But you can also say, don't be predictable. And he wants to catch Inter off guard. The thing is, I don't really think you need to catch them off guard because they're not necessarily feeling confident. And
That's exactly correct.
Anthony Lucci went on that show, and like you said, great guys. It's not their fault. Their mothers drank while pregnant, and they chose Inter. That's what happens. I'm going to be going with Anthony on his show, Inter Worldwide, tonight. I'm going to tell him the same thing. It's a shame, but hey, back in the day, they didn't understand what happens when you drink while pregnant. Well, now we know. That's why you get Inter supporters. Now, they're not confident in this one at all. Do you take the chance? Yeah, I know I could be savage sometimes. I was savage. do you take the chance and try something off cue, or do you try to pounce and keep your strongest, keep it all the same and what's working because they're not necessarily in the greatest of form?
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Just stick to what we've been doing. You let them figure something out or switch things up. We don't need
Make
to switch
them
a
adapt to
damn thing.
you. I like that.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Don't change
Okay.
a damn thing.
Yeah, I'll be more to the point and less overall. Inter are far better at home than they are away this season, and it is an away game. Um, Look, if there's one team whose front line misfires more than us, it's Inter. I mean, they have 27 shots a game, like 2 on target. All their strikers are out of form. They have massive injuries in their back line, and they have an aging midfield, which might leave in the summer. They have a lot of problems. I am listening to Inter
of problems.
podcasts, and a lot of Inter fans, they're not confident in their team. They feel they're underperforming all season, but they can shut things down. So we need goals. We need goals, and a win here gets us 9 points off Inter. And if we get the 15 points back, it's 6 points ahead of Inter, which will probably solidify our spot in the Champions League for next season. So it is a very important game, and that's Derby d'Italia. I know I said earlier that I understand why the team fell off in the second half and didn't go for it. If the opposition was Inter and it was the same situation, go for it. Go get as many goals as you can. You know, hit them while they're bleeding because it's Inter and you got to score as much as you can. So it should be a shift in mentality, and we're going off to a little break afterwards. Some of the guys are not even called up to the national team, especially the Brazilians, so they don't go overseas and won't have hangover. It's a good time to gather our strength back and rest a bit. It's an important game and important to get us firing for the last part of the season from April to May.
Yeah.
100% agree.
And yeah, we got to give it to him. Day, we're coming Sunday. Let's go. Give him the day. Let's go. I'm gonna have some. I'll probably drop one of those for Anthony at Inter Worldwide this evening when we record that preview together. Storm the Barn, everybody. It is time for Storm the Barn. Let me startle the old man here. There we go. Oh, this old grumpy
that
man.
racket.
I love it.
Come on,
Love it.
Anthony. Give me an old man shout. Like, stop that racket.
Now, let's get into this. So we got a couple Storm the Barns that came earlier on, and Jeremiah, let's go. Shouldn't Rabiot be renewed if he agrees for 8 to 9 million a season? He was excellent again yesterday. He hardly gets injured, always available, playing well with others, goals and assists too. I have been saying that figure, I just don't like that figure. I really, really don't. So let's just make this question as simple as possible. Is Rabiot worth 8 to 9 million in your opinions? If the renewal came down to 8 or 9 million a season, do you do that? Yes or no?
Honestly, I think I'm like 2-3 good games away from saying yes.
Yeah, I'm with Omer on that one. Yeah. For 10,
I mean-
10's a lot. 8,
And here's
I
the
mean,
thing. So that number, I hate that number then based on what the bigger guys have been getting and everything and where he is in terms of that. But then I start to think about it, and I also look, and some of those numbers on some of those guys that are up that I shouldn't be around those figures anyways. And then if I start to look at Rabiot, and you can make the argument when we had this discussion a couple shows ago, who is irreplaceable to Juve, his name did come up in the live chat and on the show that he could potentially be one of those guys that you consider irreplaceable. 8 to 9 million. If you're talking about a guy being irreplaceable to Juve in their lineup, then all of a sudden it isn't that bad. So there's couple ways to look at this thing.
Did you hear that? I thought I heard somebody
Lou?
screaming. Must be Lou. Yeah, it must be Lou screaming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry, Lou.
losing it right now. Um, but
No, these are good points. He is performing. He's never
He is.
injured. I mean, if Pogba is getting the same amount of money and plays 30 minutes a season, then there's no reason Rabiot shouldn't ask for that as well. He's at the peak of his career. He's 27. That's his last major contract of his career.
Hmm.
I mean, he should aim for that amount. He's not coming in asking for, I want 15 million. I want to be the top earner. It's none of that.
yeah,
So, yeah, like I said, 2, 3, 4 games away, good performances from saying, yeah, you know what? You earned it.
yeah.
People keep going back to last year and the year before, but again, Lucci and I talked. This question was brought up on the Inter show last night. You can make the argument that he wasn't being deployed or utilized correctly in past systems. Now he's in a system where he's excelling, right? So, and if we switch to a 4-3-3 next year, is he going to play as good? Like, if we do, that might not be the system for him. So it's a tough call, man.
The other
You
thing
can't
is,
deny that he's not playing well.
like Alex P says, you can sell him if that comes down the pipe too. He would obviously have value. I mean, he's got teams interested and whatnot. The wage demands are pretty high, but then all of a sudden you start looking at his performances. Are they too high? The other thing to factor in, everybody, is that it's a contract season. So does it continue beyond that? And even that is a gamble based on what we've seen before this season with Rabiot. So there's a lot to factor in. Has he made that turn? And is he going to keep it this way moving forward? I honestly would think that he has, because he feels he's saying, even just in the way he speaks and whatnot, things have changed a little bit. It's almost like he's turned a corner. But the performances, they've been steady and back. I remember very well, because we always bring this up with Lou and whatnot. He's like, oh, one game doesn't change my mind. Well, then it became 2 games. It became 3, became 4, became a month, became 2 months, became a season. It's like,
Oh,
okay,
wait till the World Cup. Now after the World Cup,
it's like, let's get into this here, all right? It's happening. It's happening. He's been one of our best this season. You could talk about
So
it.
bitter.
We will see what happens. But 8 to 9 million, though, I don't like that number in terms of that. But if we're talking about him being irreplaceable, we would have to save some serious chicoria elsewhere, in my opinion. But that's a Rabiot talk for now. That's going to be ongoing from here on out. Make no mistake about it. Luca coming in. Thoughts on Miretti in that attacking role? Personally think he should be rotating with Fagioli and giving him some rest. And Sule should be used in that second striker role. I'm going to say this because I have been saying I like Miretti more in the Mezzala position. And I do agree that Sule needs more minutes up top there and whatnot. So I agree with Luca here. What are your guys' thoughts on Miretti and then Sule being that rotational piece up top?
Based on
I
injury
think
and suspensions, I'm surprised Sule hasn't had more minutes. That's all I'll say about that. Go ahead, Omer.
Yeah, I think Max is sort of trying them out in like different positions and different
Hmm.
roles on the field and different instructions to figure out what's better for them. So every game we see kind of different thing, and I don't think Miretti can replace what Fagioli does. It's just not the same role. Fagioli's
Hmm.
role is suited for him. If he does change some, I actually don't know where I would put Miretti right now. And even if I do go with him as the second striker, I mean, he's like fourth in the pecking order till he gets minutes there. So we kind of have to figure out what to do with him and where does it fit best. I still believe alone would be better for him.
Exactly.
Go out one season, see how he performs in different roles in a different team, and then we can prepare maybe if Rabio leaves or whoever. But I don't feel he's quite ready yet. He needs some more time in the microwave before we can serve him.
There you go. There you go. Ant, anything to
Well,
add?
don't put babies in the microwave, kids.
Yeah.
100%
Teenagers,
agree,
though.
Omer. But again, alone, a loan, like people talk about, oh, you send him on loan, that's like a death sentence for a kid. No, perfectly said by Omer. Let him go somewhere and sort of mold himself to see where his game fits, where he fits in a different system, or how his game's going to grow with consistent minutes, and then we bring him back. No problem.
Yeah.
100% agree.
Going back to like that Rabiot thing too, in terms of a replacement, an irreplaceable, 8 to 9 million on that spot. Like, if Miretti's gonna go, Rabiot's gonna go. Based on Rabiot's like tools and everything, like in his arsenal and whatnot, like technically he's good. He's nothing crazy technically though. It's a lot of it is just energy and the physical strength and whatnot that he has. Is that hard to replace? Or do you think it's harder to find like technical skill guys like the guy like what we're getting out of like Fajoli and stuff like that? Like, what do you think's harder to find?
I think Rabiot and his skills sort of balance that midfield because he's relatively fast, for his physique. He's very strong. He kind of adapted to the game. I don't think it's a player that is easy to replace with all those traits that we are missing without him. When he's not there, we are missing something in the physical area of the midfield. So it's not easy to replace. I mean, I'm thinking now, just running the name through my head. Leon Goretzka, maybe. These are those type of players who you're looking for, and they aren't cheap. I mean, even if we do so, Rabiot replacing him won't be cheap.
And I would say this, usually when you get those energy guys, those physical guys, whatnot, there's a significant drop-off in technical ability. And that's what's nice about Rabiot, is that his technical ability is actually quite sound, if we're being honest. Yeah. And that's what's kind of making you start to think that maybe, just maybe, a renewal, you could do it.
Do you think if Rabiot leaves or when he leaves, do you think we can put Illing Jr. in that spot?
No.
But
See,
I want
he's a winger all day based on
all
his
out,
skill
he's
set
all out
and his
winger
speed and yeah.
Okay.
Now
I want to raise a question that might divide both of you and the live chat.
Let's do it.
About Rabiot, because Rabiot, I mean, when you come and ask for a new contract and an improved contract, what are they doing? They're looking back and saying, do you deserve it or not, based on your appearances and the work you have done in every, working area. So Rabiot has been good this season. I feel he has the right to come in and ask for a bigger salary. And so people will probably say to me, yeah, but he was shit for 3 years, so why does he deserve it? But Dybala wanted more, wasn't available, injured for 2 seasons straight, basically. But we wanted to renew him and give him that salary based on his past performances in previous years. Where do you stand? Because I see a bit of, sort of hypocrisy there towards who you like more and who you don't.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
I hear you. But I want to ask you guys. We like to get into some wagers here and there. Rabiot re-signing with Juve. Do you think it's going to go down, like just ultimately from the hip right now? Yes or no? Anth, is he going to resign?
I'll put $20 on it that he leaves.
$20 he's leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Omer.
I think he's staying.
All right.
What kind of wager are we doing? What are we doing?
I'm not taking my shirt off, or anything stupid like that.
Yeah, no, we're good. What are we doing? What are we doing for this Rabiot thing? We love our wagers here. Man, I got 10 kits potentially on the line going out. So I might sit out of this one. This might be between you two and something you want to do, but we should maybe do something. I'll leave it up to the chat. What do you guys think? If Rabiot resigns, because I'm starting to think it's going to happen. So I'm starting to think it's going to happen. But let's say if he does resign, you guys can think about what the wager is, okay? We got some store in the barn. We still got time for.
If he re-signs, I'll cut a mustache like Omer has on his face right now.
It's too
Big,
easy. Too easy.
big, thick, dirty mustache.
We do that in November, anyways. And deep
Nah,
down, you
I'm
want
not
to do
doing that
that
again.
personally, anyways. We know that. So,
It's
Forza
true.
Juve, after
No,
the
it's not.
summer, what is your dream, realistic starting 11? Let's factor in that nothing gets affected. We can work as normal. Your dream starting 11.
Okay, can I sort of switch this up a little bit? Because the Inter guys asked sort of a similar question. They said, this summer, if you could add one player, because I don't think we need to completely revamp our 11. But who can we add this summer? So I'm sorry, I'm gonna kind of hijack your question. One or two players that we can add, or they just asked one. This summer, who would we add to this lineup? Who's out there? Who's going to be available?
Who do we add to
Grimaldo,
this lineup?
Singo,
So
Scalvini potentially.
I said Grimaldo. I think Lucci said Scalvini.
Scalvini,
The Inter guy
Singo.
said Singo.
There's a couple other center backs. Indica will be available. There's another one. Pavlovic doesn't really excite me and probably shouldn't excite many, but he will be an opportunity. There's Fresneda being shouted out there by Tony G. Like, there's a lot of options. But again, what would we, let's say all things remain the same. Let's say the guys we want to stay, or pick the guys you want to stay, pick the guys you want to move or loan, whatever. What's your, somewhat realistic dream 11? Because if we're talking dream 11, it's probably not going to be realistic, but let's say a realistic 11 you would like to see if we can work as we should. How many changes do we end up getting?
Need Vlahovic and Di Maria to stay.
Okay, so you're keeping
And
Vlahovic,
left back.
Di Maria. I would probably agree with that. You got Chiesa up there. Illing Jr. would continue for me. Midfield, I would bring Rovella in. I think unless something changes drastically, I would loan Meretti. Rabiot, probably keep. I'd say keep. And bring Rovella in. I don't think we have a lot of work to do in the midfield, to be honest.
Surprisingly enough.
Yeah. Fullbacks, Singo, Grimaldo, center back, Indica if we could. Would love that. If we needed another forward, work on a free, Marcus Thuram, would love it.
He came up last night as well. Like Scamacca, what happened with the Scamacca thing? Like, why is this in the news all of a sudden?
I don't know if we end up going
Because
Scamacca and whatnot, but that's somewhat of what I would think would be a dream. But again, realistic, you're not going to bring that many targets in. Even if we steer clear of any troubles, anything like that, we won't have the financials to really pull a lot there. So, a more realistic thing for me is if we can find someone decent at center back. I don't think we can splash there by any means. Scalvini might be out based on what's going to happen, asking price, and how many teams are going to want to get involved. But Grimaldo and Singo, I think, is very, very realistic in the midfield. If we retain Rabiot, I mean, we've got young talent everywhere to pull in to replace Paredes. Hell, Barnechea might be the name that just stays and continues to be a rotational piece behind Locatelli. So there's not as much work to be done. And Di Maria staying, I think, would be big. But is there anything you guys want to add to some potential starting 11s? Omer?
I don't know why I think everyone's going to disagree with me, but I still want to see some Adama Traore. I think we can get him in. He's on a free, so it's a free signing. He's out of contract. Grimaldo out of contract, and Dika out of contract. And I would even throw in Nonto and just, check to see if it's a possibility. And Manor Solomon is killing it for Fulham, and he's on loan, so he's back to Shakhtar Donetsk in the summer. I'll check that one too. For the attack, the rest, I mean, Rovella coming back, Zakaria is a question mark, maybe keep him. The rest is just, I'm fine overall with their lineup. Cambiaso, of course, keep him.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I'm just looking for
Cambiaso's a good shout. I would keep Cambiaso.
Like, do we have to spend a lot of money It doesn't sound like it. It sounds like we could fill some holes for free and maybe splash on one player.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know what I mean? Like,
It
There's
depends on
not
outgoings
there's not a
mainly.
lot of work
Depends
to
on the
be
outcomes,
done.
yeah.
There's just priorities. It could become a lot of work again if
who
things go
leaves?
differently with the uncertainty that Juventus faces. But honestly, if things remain the same, we don't technically have a lot of work to do. So, guys, I'm going to leave this open. Again, reminder everybody, like the video, please subscribe. Any questions, any topics, anything you want to discuss before we kind of just wrap up touching on the Derby and then signing off? Is there any questions, any topics we might have missed you wanted to get into?
Oh, I thought I had
I
one.
had
Go
I
ahead,
had
Omer.
something. Wait,
And this is last
wait.
call for the chat too to get yours in there. We could
Man, I had
maybe
one,
take
I
one or
forgot.
two. Did you guys
course.
have one?
No.
Omar, you
Go.
did, right?
I did. I don't remember what it was. Wait, I'm going through my.
Can you call me old?
And that's
So,
yeah.
why,
Well, you
maybe
don't
the
smoke.
blunt's not such a good idea.
The plans are a good idea. I don't need memory. I'm looking towards the future, not the past. No, I'm kidding.
Brilliant.
I don't remember what question I had, but
I gotta
no,
write
go
these
ahead.
down.
Anth, you had
Yeah.
one?
I forgot it.
Amazing. The memories aren't sharp here at all, UV cast, but hey.
Hey man, you wanted older guys. I mean, you can go out get 15-year-old kids to sit here and talk to you. See how that works out.
Yeah, totally
Which
illegal.
country?
You have to get their parents' permission.
Anthony and myself, Canada. Omar, Israel.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep.
Jeremiah, do you feel we can win Europa? I do feel we can win it.
Sure.
I do feel we can win it. Hey, it's the same as always. What Juventus will show up. What Juve is going to show up. But we have to be more
One
clinical.
game at a
But
time.
can we? Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Do I feel we can? Oh, yeah.
Sure.
We can do it. We can do it.
We can do anything.
How can we counter the speed of Sporting? So this is the one that Omar, this is one of the things you highlighted is their speed and how fast they are and whatnot. But is it going to show up as much against Juventus with our 3-5-1 setup or 3-5-2 setup, sorry? Is it going to show up that much in our setup? I think we've done a good job of, for the most part, neutralizing some fairly quick, but everybody will go back to the Napoli game and say that some of the opponents we faced up until now and the games we're seeing, I don't know. How do you feel about speed? Because you were the one that instantly brought up Sporting speed.
Yeah, because they even looked fast against Arsenal, and Arsenal are fast. They play a very fast brand of football, and
Well, it's an open game, and that's what I mean about Juve. We don't play an open game.
So it would be very tactical on Juve's part because we are not that fast. I mean, our fullbacks, our center backs are not known for their speed. So it will be tactical for Max players keeping their position and just covering as much ground as possible, blocking passing lanes. That would be the name of the game for Juve.
Yeah.
I mean, they too have a tough schedule, and one of their starters got a red card against Arsenal, so he's out for the first match. Tough question. Their finishing is pretty bad, actually, from what I've seen yesterday, but
Yeah.
we didn't do well against speed. Let's see how it works out.
I tend to agree with Alex here because I think they're not going to look as fast with us because we don't play an open style game. Where they will look fast though is potentially counterattacks. And that's what Juve is going to have to basically be aware of because even in yesterday's game, open game, that's where Sporting looked fast and everything and their ability to hit back at them. Juve is going to have to really dial into the roles, but we should be controlling. But the thing is, you probably not going to be able to afford mistakes and cheap turnovers and stuff like that. So Juve is going to have to dial it up on the sharpness. They're definitely going to have to keep their own legs going because Freiburg, who we all agree stinks, I
think our best weapon against them is what's been our best weapon this season, which is set pieces, free kicks, corners.
Yeah.
That's where we get a lot of our goals. And in the air, we're much better. I just don't want to fall behind. And when we have to push forward, it plays to their game, and suddenly their speed becomes super important.
Yeah.
We need to take our chances from set pieces and make them chase the game, as always.
We gotta get
Contrary
the
to
goddamn
popular
thing.
belief, I used to play with a lot of speed back in the day when both my knees operated correctly. To combat speed is ball possession. Just don't let them have the ball.
Yeah.
That's all you gotta do. And you said it right. Do not make mistakes. You can't. So that I think my only fear would be we might shell up a little bit. Do not put him anywhere near that back line. He cannot
No.
play these games.
They're going to be way too fast. That's going to be like the instant
No
target. Attack
Yeah,
that
go after
guy,
that guy.
over the head balls and just put him under. But yeah, Europa League. Jeremiah's starting to like the Europa theme song. I'll tell you what I don't like. I find it hilarious that Molten is the ball, official ball of Europa League. Those things are junk. We use them in indoor when we play indoor with hockey boards because nobody gives a shit about those balls and we can destroy them. I find it hilarious that they play with Molten balls there in that league. But we know the draw. We tackled our thoughts on sporting. Obviously, that is going to be things we keep eye on. The first one is April 12th. And then Sassuolo in between. April 19th will be the return leg. April is absolutely crazy. We're almost there. We have the Derby d'Italia this weekend. Okay, so obviously there's going to be shows. We're making appearances. Ant and Lucci have gone on one. I'm going to join Anthony from Inter Worldwide this evening. We're going to do our match day live on Sunday. We've got the crew, okay, the official fan club from Toronto, the 6th, that's going to be joining me for the watch-along, okay? There is going to be a watch-along. You can bet your ass on that for the Derby d'Italia, okay? I'm already jacked up for this one. Time to take it to the Snakes, and hopefully Juve can keep the momentum going, and this will be a big game, and hopefully set the tone for the Coppa Italia semifinals against those same clowns. All right, thank you everybody in the chat. You guys are amazing as usual. Please drop a like before you take off, and then there you go. Vincenzo T.Rep. Absolutely, Sunday is a big one. We will see you all then. I'll have a news update for you tomorrow. For now, enjoy Victory Friday. On to the next round in Europa. Final 8, okay? Sporting on deck. And
Happy St. Patty's Day. Does everybody
Happy
celebrate
St.
that?
Patty's Day. Hey, enjoy so safely. Green beer.
There you go.
Hey, when
Drink
you
responsibly,
have
kids.
to. When you have to, all right? Everybody, take care. Have a great weekend. We'll see you very soon. As always, fino alla fine, Forza Juve and Inter. We're coming. We coming. Te.